All of us on a day-to-day basis, we find ourselves doing so many things. It could be in the line of business, it could be in the line of media, it could be in the line of marriage, call it family. It could be in the world of academia. It could be in the world of culture. It could be in the spiritual mountains. Welcome to today's perspective, where we will be able to focus on what are some of the skills that are put to test in the life of every individual in our day-to-day life. My name is Fred Makubuya. I am a clinical psychologist by profession, and my nature of work dictates that I am able to listen to people, what they are going through, not to solve their problems, but to open their five senses that they may be able to understand the environment around them, pick up the different resources, and then be able to deal with the issues at hand. And that occupies most of the things that I do in my day-to-day life. And of course, today I would like to begin with the 7 mountains that Adijera talks about. The 7 mountains that this man talks about are the 7 mountains that everybody, knowingly or unknowingly, we find ourselves climbing. The mountain of education, the mountain of family, the mountain of media, the mountain of marriage, the spiritual mountain, the cultural mountain. These are some of the areas, these are some of the mountains that we climb either on a day-to-day basis or we climb one by one. But at the end of the day, we find ourselves either going through one of them at a time. And so, because I've had the privilege, to do many things, I've also had the privilege to work in not so many places, but a few places. And the few things that I have been able to go through are things that I feel are very fundamental in shaping our 5 core domains of life. How we think, the cognitive aspect, how we feel, that is the world of feelings or emotion. Our thoughts, the world of how we think about certain things. Our physical life, or call it the somatic aspect of life, and then how we respond, that is to do with the behaviors. Many times when we go through the different things that either build us or destroy us, I have come to believe that there are skills, there are traits that everybody must be able to have if we are going to go through the different tragedies of life. In other words, the reason why many of us, when we develop mental health illnesses, we are able to break, there could be so many factors, but one of those could be maybe we lack the skills. The reason why some of us, when we go through what we call financial issues, the financial issues, the issues that disrupt our thinking and causes us to, of course, negatively think, is because we probably lack some skills. The reason why many of us, when we are challenged, abused, and confronted by people, either with intentions to build us or to break us, we get down and cry. Others respond aggressively because we lack certain skills. I do some little business in some place within Kampala. The reason why customers will come and abuse you, some of us choose to keep quiet and others choose to respond, is that there is a skill put to test. When we are going through our marriages, I am married, and every day there are skills that are being put to test. And so when there is a confrontation, where there is disagreement, either in opinion or in the other aspects of life, there are skills being put to test. When you are in a leadership position and the people you lead seem not to be in agreement with you, or they seem to be doing certain things in their different directions of life, you tell them, let's take this direction. They're telling you, no, that can't work. Or in others, they may not tell you that that doesn't work, but they find themselves doing something different. There is a skill being challenged in your life. Sometimes we choose to go silent and keep quiet. There is also a skill being tested in you. Fundamentally, for everybody to be able to go through the different trials, challenges, tribulation, crises that cause us either not to think or to reason or run into isolation or despair, it could be we lack certain skills in our day-to-day life. Now, today's perspective focuses, we ask ourselves, Given that preamble and understanding, the fundamental question remains, what are some of the skills that you and I need, that when we are faced with challenges, they could be marital challenges, they could be mental illnesses, they could be financial challenges, they could be spiritual challenges, they could be cultural challenges, they could be challenges to do with our neighbors, they could be challenges to do with friends, our customers. What are some of the skills that are put to test on a day-to-day basis, that if you had them, you are in position to deal with them? And last, which I didn't forget, even those who are in politics, what are some of the skills needed for us to be able to deal with the different challenges as they keep revolving? I would like to talk about a few challenges that I think that have happened in my day-to-day life, that I think if we owned them, then we are in position to deal with problems and challenges as they keep revolving. The first of those is a skill which I call the self-awareness skill. When I talk about the self-awareness skill, I mean you being in position to recognize and managing the following: being in position to manage your emotions, being in position to manage your motivation, and being in position to manage your strength. At one time when I was operating one of my businesses in Ntinda, a customer came. It was very early in the morning. I had had a very good morning. And so the first thing the customer did was to simply flash me down by abusing me all sorts of negative words. You know, the best I could do was basically to be able to listen. And my response came in the evening when he came back. I realized in the evening he had had a sober mind. So the ability to be able to manage your emotions when things are hard is fundamentally very, very critical. I'll keep reiterating this statement that Martin Luther King Jr. says, that if you want to see how strong a leader is, you don't have to look at them when things are going well, but you simply look at them when their emotions are upset, when they are confronted with challenges, with trials, with tribulations, with issues. That is how you can be able to tell who a leader is. The ultimate measure of a leader is not where he stands in the moments of comfort, but in the moments of controversy. So the self-awareness skill, you being in position to be able to notice and regulate and manage your emotions, motivation, and your strength, is very fundamental. You could be a patient battling with issues. You could be a boss, you are a CEO, you are an MD, you are a top manager, okay? You are a subordinate, you are an employer, you are an employee, you are a wife, you are a husband, okay? One of the skills that is needed and required of you is your ability to come to a point of knowing who you are. The self-awareness skill is very, very fundamental. Knowing your emotions, your motivation, and then your strength. That is very key in helping you manage the issues as they keep resolving. The second fundamental skill that has been put to a test in my life on the day-to-day functioning, I have seen it being put to a test in the businesses. I have seen it being put to a test in my world of academia. I have seen it being put to a test in most of the things that I do, is what we call the problem, of course, solution skill. There is a theory in psychology. It was formulated by a man called Bowles. Of course, it's an emotion theory. But in that family and group theory, the theorists suggest that there are times in marriage where I don't have to dig for where the problem has started from. There is a time when you only have to look at the solution. In fact, that when they keep bringing problems, your focus on the issues is to do with the solution. So problem solution is a skill. I do a lot of marital counseling. And I can tell you one of the challenges that especially young marriages face, amongst the many challenges, is to do with the problem solving skill. So how we confront a problem, how we analyze a problem, how we evaluate a problem, and ultimately the decisions we choose to take after we have internalized the problem is very, very fundamental. You can't be able to have control over your thoughts, feelings, and emotions. You can't be able to have control over the people that you lead, be it at any other workplace, be it in the church, be it in the 7 mountains that I started with in the preamble. If you do not have the skill of the problem-solving skill, this is critical, this is important, this is a skill that you and I need if we are able to deal with the issues that cause and challenge our brains to thinking on a day-to-day basis. So the problem solution skill is a very critical skill that is important. Your ability to be creative, your ability to be adaptive, and your ability to be resilient is very, very important as we keep resolving. The third one is the interpersonal skills. When I talk about the interpersonal skills, I am basically talking about you and the others. How you relate with other people is very key. Many times we get into the troubles I have talked about is simply because either we have issues, if there are gaps in the areas of how we speak to people, how we respond to issues, how we respond to the people around us, okay, is very, very key and very, very fundamental in determining what we call our ability to be able to manage the thing. The team leadership skills. Talk about, of course, the mobilization skills. That's very fundamental. Unless you are telling me that you are going to exist as any single identity. But if not, that's the case. If you need people to drive a particular point, if you need people to help out in another society, if you need people in probably being fundamental growth and development in a society, as long as whatever you are going to do deals with people, then you need what we call the interpersonal skills, the skills of mobilization, the skills of leadership. And by this I mean the ability for you to, of course, foster those that you lead in a particular direction. So those fundamental skills are very important in everything that we do on a day-to-day life. Time management skills. I know this is one of the core issues that Ugandans, I can authoritatively speak about this. It's one of those things that we battle with on a day-to-day life. You have an appointment at 8 and you arrive at 8:30, or even arriving at 8 is good enough, or bad enough, I beg your pardon, is bad enough wrong. So for us, the ability to be able to prioritize, of course, on what we are supposed to do, the time management skill is a very fundamental skill. I for sure know that there are people that have been excellent in what they do. There are people that have been able to maintain the levels of friendship. There are people that have been able to climb through odds. There are people that have been able to get well simply because of their ability to manage the most important resource called time. So talk about what happens in a situation where you have so many things at hand. How are you able to manage your relationship with them? How are you able to execute all these duties? So the skill of time management is key. The ability for you to prioritize and say, this I need it, but I need this more than this. This can wait, this can be done on Wednesday, so let me do with those that can be done on Monday and Tuesday. So the ability to prioritize, knowing which one I need more than the other, which one is urgent, yes, they are all important, but which one is more urgent than the other. That's very, very, very fundamental in you being in position to deal with it. The reason why we fail out on time could be as a result of many factors, but one of those could be as a result of juggling with many issues at a go. So the issues of prioritizing, the issues of recognizing which one is urgent, some of those skills are never present in our cognition. I for sure know that if we are to deal with the different challenges as they keep revolving, the skill of time management is very important. Communication. Many of us think communication is the easiest thing. Go and ask the marrieds, you will know that communication is not something very easy. In fact, my research topic at university, of course, was to do with perceived infidelity, miscommunication leading to, of course, the breakdown of marriage as an institution. So the issue of communication is very, very important. And fundamentally, there are key issues under communication. If it's a marital institution, there are basically three. If it's about a mobilization institution, that's very key. If it's about you're dealing with people, dealing with association, dealing with appointments, dealing with all sorts of things, in the 7 mountains that I talked about, media, mountain of education, the mountain of culture, the mountain of academia, which I've talked about the education, you are able to climb through all those odds if you have the skill called communication. In communication, we basically talk about 3 things. Are you in position to listen to others? I know many of us, we have troubles in our families, troubles in business, because our listening ability and capacity is low. Before somebody finishes a statement, you have already bumped into that. I remember one of my colleagues in the clinical practice shared with me a situation where a client was still opening up, and he kept on juggling in, coming in through until the client rebuked him and told him, "You are the reason as to why I am here. Can you listen to me?" So the skill of listening is very, very critical. And if there are institutions that need this, the marital institution needs the skill of communication, particularly the component of listening. That's very, very important. Listening is key. Talking is very good. So if you are good at listening but not talking, it means there are critical issues that you may end up missing. And the third component is your action. As long as we align the 3, you are good at listening, you are good at doing, you are good at listening, you are good at talking, and what you listen to and actually, of course, what you listen to, as long as you align it with what you are able to talk, the talking aspect, when you bring those 2 and combine them into actionable ideas, then you make communication very, very complete. I want to guarantee you the reason why institutions break down. Fundamentally, research has shown it, that the lack of communication, or communication may be present, but it is miscommunication. Or in some institution, I know there is totally no channel of communication. So everybody do things the way they feel like doing. I guarantee you, for us to be able to deal with the issues that cause and challenge our thinking, the issues that challenge our cognitive, the issues that challenge our physical, the issues that challenge our thoughts, feelings, and behavior, one of those fundamental skills that you need is the skill of communication. And for us in our clinical practice, if there is a skill that you need, the art of communication, the art of empathy, which is partly a section of communication, is very, very important. And lastly, I would like to, I've done research about this. I don't know whether it is a skill. I'm still finding out what exactly to call it, but let me call it the common sense model. I remember one time when I was going to, of course, do my wedding. My wedding, it so happened that it collided with my boss's events. And so I was caught in between the lines. So what do? My boss should support me, but he can't support me because he also has a wedding to take place. And so I shared this with one of my mentors, the people that I've looked up to. Of course, is a man called Sir Simon Muyanga Lutaya. This man, in his wisdom, challenged me and told me, "Fred, there is what we call wisdom in life." So wisdom means there are things not written in the Bible. I know everything about life is in that book. There are things that I don't know. There are things that may not be written in the Quran, or it is written there. But wisdom simply means there is something written in the space, but are you able to read the space? Some are able to read the information in the space, and others are not in position to read the information in the space. So wisdom is the ability for you to read things not written in anywhere, but you internalizing them, looking at them from the wider perspective, and then being in position to make the right decision. I made sure I procrastinated my wedding so that I give time for my boss to finish his wedding so that I can give him 100% support, so equally can he give me 100% of one time, but also the resources. If I had become that rigid and have the same function within the same timing, it literally meant we would actually collide. He wouldn't support me because he was my boss anyway. But the reason why I was able to go through this period very successful is wisdom told me that please procrastinate the date so that you can give him time to finish his what we call events. So the common sense model is a fundamental model which states that information is not written anywhere. Probably research is not done about it. People have not done anything about it. But it is in the space that you must be able to read through the lines and be able to understand. Sometimes some customers will come and abuse you, and all you need to do is common sense model. Sometimes you may choose to keep quiet for them to win. And remember, please make sure that you don't win a battle with your customers. You can intellectually deal with it and be able to manage. Finally, as I draw close to the end of this, my perspective, the sharing of the skills that we need many times on a day-to-day, as time keeps revolving, problems and challenges keep revolving, illnesses keep coming up, trials, the things that beat us down in our areas of thoughts, feelings, and behavior, the things that keep breaking us on a daily basis are actually so many. But how many people, those that you look up to and those that you would like them to mentor you, the reason why they've been able to climb through odds is because they have mastered the skills that I have talked about. So the interpersonal skills, the problem-solving skills, the common sense model skill, and many of the skills I've talked about can be one of those. So are you lacking any of those skills? Fundamentally, the question is, if you are lacking these skills, where can you get them? You could begin attending mentorship sessions. You could begin attending coaching sessions. You could begin attending conferences. You could begin attending trainings. Internet is at your disposal. Instead of finding out the other issues that you know about, can you be able to go to the internet and find out, how do I build my skill? How do I become better? There are online courses to do with the things I'm talking about. So instead of spending an hour on the things that may not be able to add value to me, why can't I spend my time researching and doing the things that will contribute to my growth and development? This is my perspective. Remember to share, remember to like and leave a comment and make a contribution. I for sure know that information is the most powerful tool in managing and dealing with ignorance, but it's also the most important tool in causing solutions to the prevailing problems. This is my perspective.